Are you just getting into archery, or you've been shooting a long time and you have no idea what release is right for you? Well, this week on Shop Talk, we're going to break it all down. It's these quiet moments, the liminal moment, literally the space between. Not fully light, not fully dark, but building something new. It's like a metaphor for our life. Who are you building? Who are you becoming? What skill do you want to learn? What adventure do you want to go on? You build them in these small, incremental, liminal moments, one piece at a time, stacked on top of each other. Let's do it together. Let's build it right now at Liminal Outdoors. There's several different types of archery releases on the market, and they all serve a purpose. But very often the question becomes, which one should I be using, or which one is more accurate? And the answer is really, it depends. And I know that we hear that answer a lot, but really each release has a different purpose and actually can serve a different type of shooter better in different scenarios. So let's break down the different types of releases here really quickly, show you how they work, and maybe you can decide which one works best for you. The most common old standard is the old wrist strap. Right? You put your hand in, you lock it down, hook it on the string, right? Draw it back, and you shoot it almost just like a rifle. It's got a trigger, you pull a trigger, boom, away it goes. 95% of hunters, 95% of archers are shooting this one, mainly because it's very simple, it's very familiar like a rifle. And honestly, this has a place. I actually prefer to hunt with a wrist strap, and some of the reasons are, when you draw back and you're holding, waiting for that animal to step, sometimes that extra wrist tension, that strap around your wrist, can actually help you hold some of that weight for longer periods of time while you're waiting for that animal to take that step. Just this fall, I was with my son on an archery elk hunt. I had the tag. He was calling and filming. I held on that bull for 1 minute and 44 seconds. I honestly don't know that I could have held that long with the hand release. The straps certainly helped. Part of the problem with a wrist strap or an old trigger release is that folks very often start to get punchy. Just like when you're shooting a rifle, when you're back here and you go bam, bam, it causes movement and you can start to flinch or start to react before that arrow goes off. And very often people with target panic are punching the trigger. And this type of release is very easy to do that on and can cause some problems. So especially when that happens, or when an archer starts to improve in their skills, they start to think, well, all these pros, all these guys on TV are using a handheld release. I should jump into one of those. Well, there's different types of hand releases. This here is what we call a thumb trigger or a button. And it essentially does the same thing as this, just in a different configuration. You hook it up. If I can get it here. Hook it up, draw it back, and right there's the trigger. So as you push that button, boom, it fires. That essentially is your trigger. Now this does feel a little different. Your anchor is going to be a little different with it, right? And almost all thumb buttons, there's a million different kinds, have some different adjustments, so you can make it shoot faster, have more travel, make it harder to push, whatever. You can move the thumb button around to kind of fit where you want. There's 2-finger, 3-finger, 4-finger, whatever kind of configuration you want that fits your hand. There's different sizes. There's small, medium, and large. So there's lots of options to get you the one that fits you. Problem is exactly the same thing as this. It's really, really easy to start punching that trigger. And if you go to an archery tournament or you're at your local league night and you watch guys with thumb buttons who think they're shooting this because it makes them more accurate, and you'll see them, they're doing the exact same thing. They'll be way off the button and they're aiming and they're aiming and they're aiming and whap. Now, not to say this can't be accurate. In fact, some of the best shooters in the world, some of the highest scores in the world have been shot with thumb buttons. But you've got to practice and you've got to have the right mentality to shoot one properly. That is probably why this type of release was invented. This is a true back tension. Now my wife is shooting this. The thumb button is, she's left-handed, so the thumb button's on the left side. All of these are universal. You just take the button and flip it to the other side, and now it's right-handed. Flip it back, now it's left-handed. She has this one set up left-handed. The way that these work, this is your safety, at least in this particular brand. This is your safety. So you hook it up, hold that safety down, draw back, slowly come off the safety, and as you pull, it's going to fire. There's not actually a trigger. It's actually the resistance that fires it. So again, this is left-handed. I'm holding it right-handed because I'm a right-handed shooter, but knock it up, get all ready, hold your safety down, draw back, anchor, come off the safety, pull, boom, away it goes. This is going to force you to start pulling through the shot like you should with the thumb button. If you can do that same action with the thumb button, knock it up, pull back, anchor, get your thumb on the button without it firing, slowly squeeze, and away it goes. We can still achieve a quality shot with the thumb button, but this is a training aid that helps you learn how to properly execute the button. This release is actually a hybrid of these two. This one you actually draw back with your thumb off of the barrel. Draw back, then you press the button and then pull, and it fires. You can take this tension screw out, releasing the tension off of the resistance part, and then it becomes just a regular thumb button. That's how I have it set up right now. So as you know, again, you draw back, and then as you squeeze through that button, it's going to fire. Good option if you kind of want to tinker with both. The only downside to this, I would argue, is that getting that tension, if you're going to shoot it on the resistance side exactly right, is kind of hard. So if you're going to flop back and forth, just keep a really good idea of how many turns you take out of it so you can put it right back to the same resistance that you had it at. One thing you'll notice with the true resistance release is that the angle of the release matters. So if you fire like this one time, and then like this one time, and then like this one time, it's going to feel like you're firing at different resistances. Like you're going to have to pull harder, or it's going to go fast, depending on the angle of your hand. So that's actually really important, of course, with all releases, but especially with the resistance release, you've really got to focus on keeping your hand in the same spot every single time. Once you've mastered the resistance, there's some argument that it can be less accurate. I don't know. I shot a resistance for a long time. I did very, very well with it. I don't know if I buy into it. However, if you shoot it so much that you become so in tune with it, you can anticipate when it's going to fire. You just start to know right when it's going to fire, and you can start a little bit of anticipation, just like you'd have when you smash a thumb button. You're anticipating when that release goes off, and that can cause problems. So just something to think about with the resistance release as you get more accustomed to it. The last style is what they call a hinge, and how it fires is this piece actually hinges. So there's a little hook that catches on right there. You hook your string. There's a little hook that catches on your D-loop. And then as you start to spin, this piece right here actually hinges. And then eventually it gets far enough that hook comes off of the sear and it fires. So the way that you want to shoot a hinge release, hook it up. When you draw back, you essentially want all of your tension on the index finger and your thumb right here. You want that release cocked that way to keep that hinge in tight. And when you draw back, as you start to rotate through, it'll fire. Now you can punch these just like you would a trigger. You'll see, folks, you can see you draw back. Maybe sometimes there's a click in a release before you shoot. This one has a click. Come to your click. There. And then you're like aiming and aiming and aiming. Maybe the wind's blowing you, and you can just, boop, you can just dump it. There's a couple different theories on how to make a hinge release fire correctly. You can come to the click, and then just, if you right here, slowly expand as you pull on the bow. Click, expand, it'll eventually fire. The other way, and you can still shoot this with back tension, come to your click, just start tensing those muscles in your back between your shoulder blades, start pulling them together, pull, 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 and it will naturally rotate and fire. There's a few different philosophies on how to make a hinge fire. Arguably, I don't know, is a hinge the most common release in tournament archery? Probably. Probably the majority of people are shooting hinges. For sure, you know, almost entirely hinge and buttons. You've got a few folks that are shooting resistance. You've got a few that are shooting straps. But by far, a button and a hinge are going to be the two most common in tournament archery. And again, different applications, right? When I shoot in tournament, I primarily shoot with a hinge, or I still actually use a resistance quite a bit. Once in a while, I'll break out a button, but I tend to get punchy with a button after a certain amount of time. I guess I'm just not mentally tough enough to shoot a button. But I still hunt with this guy, and I like that it's attached. I'm less prone to leave it laying on a rock when I go to the restroom or I'm eating a snack. It's always right here when I need it. It's a little easier to hold that weight. And then kind of that button functionality. I really like the ability, on occasion, if the animal's close enough and they're going to go through an opening and you need to shoot right now, I like the ability to make that happen. There's hunters that probably some of the most recognizable names in the industry have killed a ton of animals with the hinge. There's hunters that have killed a ton of animals with the button. Again, you've just got to find out what's right for you. Lastly is another hybrid. This is my son's release. As you can see, it's got the hinge function on it. There's a screw that actually locks that hinge down, and then it can be used as a button too. So in this case, he has it set as a button. That's your cocking mechanism. Hooks onto that little thing. With that set screw in there, the hinge no longer hinges. It's locked in place. Draw back and squeeze through the trigger and fires. So there you go. Different types of releases for different applications. Unfortunately, they're all kind of pricey. So maybe your friend will let you try theirs, or go to local league night and ask to play around with folks' releases. You're just going to have to find the one that works for you. They all have a time and place. They all can be just as accurate as one another. You're not giving up accuracy here or there. You just got to decide what's going to work for you. So anyways, probably the most important thing is to just shoot your bow, right? How are you using those liminal moments? Make sure that your bow is shooting really well and you spend a lot of time behind the string before you take it out into the field or to that big tournament, and you're going to do just fine. All right, we'll catch you on the next one.